couple poll questions here as soon as this thing comes up. And then we're going to work more on strings today. And then we'll be done with strings. Okay, so here's our first poll. What would this print statement do? So we're printing a formatted print, remember, so add you, Natalie, here. Yeah, make sure you log in. It's printing 123.456 and then a colon .2f. So you know it's going to have 2 decimal places after the decimal point. So I guess the question is it going to truncate and just leave it 4-5, or is it going to round the 5 up to a 6? I guess the big question, right? So 8 people think it's going to round up and 2 think it's going to truncate. Admit, there we go. So we got another vote. Here, sheet. Okay. So you guys that voted the second are correct. Okay, so it's gonna look at that next digit and round it up, since that's a 6, and it's gonna round it up, and it's gonna print as since this is a formatted string, it's gonna print it as a string, not as a number. Okay, so it's gonna be a string. Good. Just a little review, and then one more poll. I think one more. Yeah. Let's launch this. What does this print out? I didn't put the print statement, so it's just a formatted print, and it's the integer 65, but the colon C is telling us something different. It wants to format it as a character, right, with a C. So we got to remember, what is 65? Is it a lowercase a or an uppercase a? Okay, so you don't even have to look it up. You could look it up if you look up the ASCII table right now, if you search it and find out what that is. Or you could just remember, do uppercase letters come before lowercase letters, or vice versa? So what do you guys think? Uppercase before lowercase? Yeah. Other way around? It's what you wouldn't think if you were to sort something. So remember, we were comparing the word orange with a capital O to orange with a lowercase o. And orange with a capital O is less than orange with a lowercase.
Was that make it before?
So this is the answer, yeah. So this is 65. This is like 97. Because every every character is associated with an integer. Back end of the computer. Okay. Let me add who wants in college. Rashid joined, Yusuf joined, so I guess he's joining remotely. All right, cool. So let me switch over to my laptop and we'll get into today. And this is where we stopped yesterday. We were looking at orange with a capital O, right? And when you compare strings, so this is going to be one of your questions too on a quiz. How do you compare strings? So you could say, is that spelling of orange equal or equivalent to this one? And it's not. You can see one has a capital O and one has a lowercase, so that you know they're not equal. But is this one less than this one? So what you do is the computer will compare the first letter of this word with the first letter of this one. And a big O is less than a little o. Okay, in the ASCII table. So things are sorted sort of that way using. Normally you wouldn't, if you were sorting it alphabetically, this would not be true. But the computer If you're doing it with this operator, it's gonna come out true, okay? And also, it's also, if it's less than, it's also less than or equal, okay? So it's less than or equal. Either one has to be true, so that's true. All right, so I've got some string things for you today, and then we're gonna have several exercises, so you won't get too bored with me talking. What is due today? Today's Thursday. Nothing's due. Did you guys see my email about extra credit?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So everybody saw that?
Yeah.
Did you click on the link? Did anyone try clicking on the link? Did it work?
Yeah, I did last night, and
It worked?
yes.
Okay. I had to get somebody to help me do that because I tried this before in D2L, and to add extra credit without it adding to the grade book is like, it's about 30 steps in D2L. Oh, I didn't see you there, Yusuf, so good. I thought you joined remotely. So yeah, if you want to do the extra credit, they want you to do the student feedback, right? The college does. So, hey Karen. So go ahead and do it, and you'll get 20 points. All right. And all you get to do is take a screen grab of that last little page where it says submitted or completed or whatever, and then turn it in through D2L, and then you get 20 points. All right. And I'm going to give you guys another probably 50 point or maybe 100 point extra credit before the end of the year. Okay. Just so you can bump your score up if you need to. Right. And what is due next Tuesday? So over the weekend, you can start looking at this. We have a quiz on Module 10, which is strings. And then we have these 8 interview questions here. So again, you don't have to, for the interview questions, you guys don't have to record it anymore. You can just write it out. So let's take a peek at these and see if, I think you guys might be able to answer a lot of these right here. What operator is used for comparison between strings? How'd it go?
Well, there's multiple, but like equals and not equals comparisons.
Mm-hmm. That's right. That's right. What would some of the other ones be? So
Greater than, less than.
yeah, equals, not equal, greater than or equal, greater than, less than or equal. Yeah. Any of those can compare strings, right? How about the next one? Describe a print function that uses an F string to display the float variable myAverage with 2 decimal points. Anyone want to take a stab at that? I'll give you a head start. Anyone want to come up to the board and do it? Volunteers? Come on, Nicole, try. There's a good pin for you.
Is it really like first roll?
Yes, very similar. Yeah, good. Let me get the eraser here. Are these erasers good? You guys can help her out too if you want.
I forgot if it's this one or the other one or the other one.
You don't need curly braces on this one. And it's just going to be a variable myAverage, so you don't have to put a number in there. You can just say myAverage.
What question are we on?
Two,
Okay.
sorry.
Describe that question. Oh.
So you're almost there.
How do I
Oh, here you
fix
go.
that? This is awful.
It's
Thank you.
bad, isn't it?
I know.
See how hard that board is to erase? You're going to get a workout. It's like doing dips.
So my average.
Yeah, good.
And then
Yeah, good. Good. Yeah. Beautiful.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, she just answered your second question for you right there. Pretty good. Thank you. All right. How about a print function that uses an F string to display the integer variable myOrders with left alignment? Anybody want to take a stab? What, first of all, what is, so these are string comparisons. Write this up here. String comparison operators, I would say. Okay, so that's what these are. Anyone want to take a stab at the next one? How do you print left? How do you print something left? Left justified.
Is it the less than?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's the less than sign, and what is the, my orders, right? My orders, so that's our variable, who knows what it has in it. And then you would put the left sign, and it's a integer. So what do we put for integers? Anyone remember? What letter is it? A, B, C, or D? I is. It's either A, B, C, or D. Anyone remember? Take a step.
Is it D?
D, yeah. Let's see if I'm right. Or you guys are right. Let's hit the peak here. I got my. Make this a little bigger for you here. Okay.
Bless you.
Let's say my orders is an integer, say it's 123, and we wanted to, we'll just do a formatted print of that thing, left justified, right? My orders. And we're saying this should work. I think it worked. What if I leave that out? It probably still prints it to the left. It does, okay. Well, let's see if I put it to the right, does that, oh, I think I have to give it there we go. So if I put it 10D, it would print it to the right. So I think we did it right. If I went like that. Yeah. So we had it right. We just didn't put a field length in there. Okay, so it's the less than sign, prints it left justified. Let's look at the next couple of them here. Just give you a couple answers. What's the operator to concatenate two strings? And what is concatenate? Anybody?
Combining.
Yeah.
Combining?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like gluing together, right? Together, two strings. So anyone remember what the operator is? Cipriano? Any ideas? To add two strings together?
Is it plus?
Yeah, plus sign. The plus sign, right? Okay. And then I'll let you guys answer the rest. So we've already answered 3, right? You guys know how to repeat. And then you have to do Module 8 Lab, which is this. It's exercise 8.1. And I think I gave the answer to that on Tuesday. This is the whole question. I just printed it out for you. So the bottom line is, you need to be able to print out a number with little asterisks in front of it. So they can't write a check and steal the check from you, erase these, or if there's nothing there, like this, they could write in their own numbers on a typewriter. Would take it in and say, oh, give me 99,000.
I've seen a thing like that where there's like stuff at restaurants and stuff where it's like enter your tip, and sometimes you can put in negative numbers.
Yeah, tips are, it's crazy now. But I mean, people, I always put in 20%. It's like, sometimes the waiters don't do anything at all. And I know my daughter works, she works sometimes on the side at this real fancy restaurant in DC called the Salt Line. And it's owned by the guy that owns the Washington Nationals. And I know how it is, when you make tips, like everybody shares in them, right? So they like take all the tips, they put them in a big pool, and then people get, so she could make some, they make some good money there. She could make $200-300 or something in a night, just in tips, so it's good extra money. All right, so let's, so that's what's due next Tuesday, so I think you guys will figure that out. I did cover it last class. If you paid attention, you'll be able to figure it out. It's not that hard. Okay, so we're gonna get back into strings again today, and this is kinda, I think we looked at this a little bit. Here's a variable called sentence, and it has a bunch of spaces, a tab, a space, a tab, a bunch of spaces, a new line, a space. This is a whole bunch of spaces, sentence, spaces, new line, space, tab. It's a big, ugly, whole bunch of white space in there. So there's a method called lstrip, which strips the white space from the left side of the string. So it'll get rid of all this white space over here. So white space is a tab, or I better write this down. So what is white space? It's basically stuff that you can't see. So it's a space, or a tab, or a new line. Okay. When you type it down on your computer, you don't really see it at all. That's what we call it, white space. So let's look at this ugly string here, and we're going to try some of these string methods on it. Let's see, did I still save it? Nope. Let me set it up. I don't know what it is anymore. I'm just going to put a bunch of junk in there. Okay, so there's a pretty ugly sentence. It's got a lot of white space in it. Okay, so let's try the lstrip. Sentence, here's my up arrow, dot lstrip. That's left strip. All right, that got everything off the left. That's pretty cool. Now, the cool thing about this is you can also do dot rstrip, right, in the same command. So I'm going to left strip it, and then I'm going to right strip it. All right, that's pretty good. So now I stripped off both sides. So it just says this is a whole bunch of spaces, a sentence, a whole bunch of spaces. All right, so I've got rid of that. So how do we get rid of the spaces inside here? We just want one between words, right? So you can't really use strip. And so let me show you. So lstrip and rstrip, if you just use strip by itself, it does the same thing. So strip gets the left and the right. If you just want the left, lstrip. Just want the right, rstrip. So let's look at our sentence again here. Okay, here we go. All right, so what we have to do, let's see if I'm going to cover it here. Okay, I'll show it to you first before I do it. I think we looked at this before, but if you do, so we got strip and then we got split. They kind of sound the same. So if I say sentence.split, it automatically gets every word. It gets rid of, it ignores all the white space, and it grabs every word and it puts it into a, what is this thing with square brackets? What's in square brackets all the time? We covered it for, it's not tuple. We covered it for about 2 days. Starts with an L.
List?
List. So it puts it in a list. How many elements are in this list? 5. It's got a length of 5. So if I do sentence.split, it's going to grab all the words, boom, 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 and put those in there. Okay. So let's try that first. So let's split. This is called tokenizing a sentence. So it's breaking these things into what we call tokens. So individual words. So we're gonna split. So that gives me this, my example's a little different. So you guys see what that did, right? Let me, let's see. Let's run it again up here where you can see it better. There we go. Okay, so I did sentence.split. It broke it into a list. Now this one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 elements, and it got rid of all the white space. Okay? So now, how do I get the white space back in? I just want one space between each letter. So let's jump back to this. Now we need to use this function called join. And what join does is it takes its arguments that are inside the parentheses and it adds the first character over here in between them. So it's like this is a space dot join sentence split. So it takes everything in here, which has to be an iterable, and then it puts whatever character here in between those. Okay. So I'm saying space dot join sentence dot split. So it's going to take this list, each one of these, and then it's going to put a space in between it. I could put a plus sign or a pound sign or anything there, but we just want spaces. So let's try it. So this is a good, there's multiple ways to do this, but this is probably the easiest. So we can do a space, dot join, and in here we say sentence, dot split. Oh, I spelled that wrong. Okay. So this should output us our new sentence. So we got rid of all the white space at the beginning, at the end, and in between. And then how would we capitalize the first word? There's a method called that, right? Dot capitalize. So we made a pretty nice, we made a pretty nice sentence here. How would I add a period to the end of that?
Plus period, plus quote period,
How do you concatenate strings?
plus, right?
Yeah, plus. That should do it, right? So we're just like building things, taking things apart with the split, creating a list. Now we're using the join, and we're putting a space in between each one. And then we got all lowercase, and then we added dot capitalize at the end, capitalize the very first word. And if we use title, what would that do? Do you guys remember the title function? Anybody remember what that did? Yeah. Title capitalizes the first letter of every word. So it'd be this, capital is. And then we just added a period with the plus sign, because this is concatenation. This just pops that period right there.
This is my sentence.
Let's try title and see if that does what we think it's going to do. Capitalize every word. Yeah, that's kind of weird. All right, cool. So this is really neat stuff. Like back when I was in college getting my computer science degree, there was a guy named Ralph Griswold, I think was his name. And he wrote a language called Icon. And it was, and I had to take it, or I took it. It was like a 400 level class. And the language was called, he wrote it himself, it was called Icon. And it was all about string processing, like what we're doing here, before Python was around, because this was a while ago. So all this string processing stuff we're doing is really cool. It's really hard to do outside of Python. Python makes this stuff real easy. And Icon was a really cool language that could do the same thing. I mean, nobody uses it anymore, I don't think, but he wrote that. And we had to write a program at the end, I remember. And you guys probably know, or I might have told you that I brew beer too, and I'm a beer judge. So I wrote a program to create a beer recipe using Icon. So you would type in all your ingredients and it would come out with, you know, what style of beer you want and, you know, how many pounds of this grain and this grain and this grain, all this stuff. But all the stuff that you're seeing here is really powerful. It's really, if you need to deal with text, Python is really good at that. Okay, so any questions about how we took this sentence here with a bunch of white space and we eventually got it all the way down to this here? Any questions on how this whole thing works? What if I would have put like a plus sign right in here? What would that do instead of a space? Let's try it. What do you guys think will happen? What do you think will be between each word then? Yeah. So this is kind of ugly, but instead of spaces, it joined a plus sign in between each word. Okay. We use that. And if I got rid of the plus sign and left nothing, it was just empty, what would that do? It's just going to put them all together. No spaces at all. This is essentially a white space. Join is a pretty cool function. All right, so let's keep rolling, and we have an exercise coming up soon. Okay, so how about substrings? What's a substring? All right, so let's see if my eraser is going to work today. Yeah. I've had to learn so many languages in my career, it's crazy. The hardest one I ever learned was something called Lisp. Anyone ever heard of that language? Lisp. We said it stands for lots of idiotic semicolons and parentheses. And then a language called Ada. Anyone heard of Ada? It's used for the military. It's named after Ada Lovelace, who was a countess or something like that. But she was a programmer back in her day, one of the first like women programmers. I learned a language called mumps. Anybody ever heard of that language? They use that in healthcare.
I was gonna say, I think that's a disease. The mumps.
Mumps, yeah.
They use
It's a disease, yeah. It's a disease, yeah. Yeah, so a lot of languages, and then Pascal is a language I learned when I took the class you guys are taking right now. For me, we used Pascal, which nobody uses. It's crazy. And then there's R, which is a good language to learn, and C, C++. There's one called C#, which is nice. Perl. There's a cool little tiny language called awk that I like a lot. It's a Unix language. It's really good for doing quick things. And then there's shell scripting. Got the regular shell and the T shell and the bash born again shell. You can program with all these shells. So there's all kinds of different ways you can program. But anyway, let's look at substrings for a second. So we have a sentence here, variable called to be or not to be? That is the question. This is some kind of Shakespeare.
Hamlet.
Hamlet, okay.
I mean, you're correct, it's by Shakespeare.
Shakespeare's play Hamlet.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is a sentence. It's got a lot of words, and it's got a lot of spaces in here. Each one of these is a space. Okay. So now we're looking at substrings. So what do you guys think a substring would be?
It's like a subscript where it's smaller.
Yeah, it's a piece of a string. Like we could take this little piece out right here, and that would be a substring, not two. Okay, that's a substring. It's a little piece of it. Okay, sub means actually under something, but subtext, substring, submarine goes under the water. The prefix sub, so it means, in this case, it means a part of the string. So if we want to count occurrences of a certain word, to be or not to be, that is a question, we want to count part of the substring. We want to count how many times the word to, T-O, appears in there. So we can just say dot count to, and it happens, that will output the integer 2. So is 2 in here twice? 2, yeah. Okay. I'll get rid of this for a second here. So we know that's a substring right there. Okay, so there's a built-in method called count. And we could also say count to, but start at the 12th position. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So if I did this, it says let's start counting right here. How many 2's are there from here on over? There's just 1, right? So this is just going to return the number 1. Okay. And if we want to locate a substring in a string, we could say sentence.index and put the substring in there. So we want to find out at what position is the word be, or the string be in there. And it's telling us at position 3, is that right? So this is position 0, 1, 2, 3, right there. We're looking for the B, so that is at position 3. So let's try a couple of these, so you can see that all this stuff is really working. Let's see. Let's call it Hamlet. Equals be or not to be. That is the question. All right. So we say Hamlet dot count 2. That returns 2. If we want to start at position 12, it finds 1, right? And then now we're looking at the index. Let me try this. I figured out how to clear the screen in here and still stay in the terminal. So use the OS function, call the system command clear screen. So now let's try Hamlet dot index. Where does the word be start? And it starts at index 3. So that does work. So that means 3, and it starts at 0, position 3, 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so that's cool. So we have index, we have count. We have our index. Our index means right. Start at the right and go backwards. Counting backwards, okay? So our index B starting from the back. So where does it find B going from the back? 1, so 0, I guess it would be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Is that 22? Why did it say 16 up there? Let's try it. R index. Why is it saying 16? Did I count that right?
Oh, that's reverse index, okay.
That doesn't make sense to me. Hang on. Is that going to give me some help? No.
So, those two Ds.
From the end of the string, oh, is it going? I'll have to look that up. Anyway, that's giving me an answer. I'm not sure. I don't understand what's happening there. I'll look that up on our break. Okay, so we know index works from the left. And then if you want to determine if a string contains a substring, you can just use the keyword in. You can say the string that in sentence. Is the word that, which is right here, anywhere in sentence? And it is, so that just returns true. Okay? So this is how you can see if a string contains a substring. And then if you want to locate the substring at the beginning or the end of a string, you can say sentence dot starts with to. So does this sentence start with to? So there's another method called starts with and ends with. So let's do, whoops. Get back over here for a minute. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong thing. Here, let's look at sentence dot or Hamlet. Okay, Hamlet. Oh, somebody wants in, didn't it? There we go. Hamlet dot starts with to. Admit Karen, there you go, thank you. Alessandra, you here? Oh, I didn't see you come in, jeez. Okay, so Hamlet dot starts with to, that's true, okay, that's cool. How about, let's see if it starts with a capital T-O. That's false, okay, so it's looking at lowercase. And how about ends with? Let's try that. Let's see, that is the question. So ION, yeah, that's true. So you could put any letters here, and it ends with ION, it starts with TO. So those are true, and then if I tried it with capital TO, it returned false. So we got a bunch of string methods or functions. And I think it's time for your in-class exercise. Yeah. So what I want you guys to do, I don't know, we're too early for a break too, but so here's your first exercise. Create a loop that locates and displays every word that starts with T in the string. To be or not to be, that is the question. Okay, so you're going to create a loop. You guys know how to create loops, right? And then you want to get every word in this string. So we know how to do that now. Right? With this function that we just learned about. And then we know how to see if a word starts with a letter. So give that a shot. Raise your hand if you need help. I'm going to look up this R index thing. Well, I don't understand what that is doing. Oh, it finds the last occurrence
Finds what?
of the string. Okay, so what were we looking for again?
Talking about, are you trying to figure out why it said 16?
Yeah,
Yeah, that was weird.
that.
I'm
didn't
still
make
trying to figure that
Wait a
out.
second. Oh, the last occurrence of B. Okay. Oh, maybe I was counting to, let's see. That still doesn't make sense.
No.
Let me look up our own
Unless there's another. Let's try this. 16. It says
Wait, what do you mean?
finds the last occurrence.
We have to, the exercise we have to do is we have to use this statement, and we have to create a loop that is gonna find every word to start with a T. The to be or not to be as a question. Like,
If-
I'm trying to figure out right now too.
If you were to if every letter were an index and you go backwards, your
No,
cursor
that's
can
not-
end
no,
on the beginning of
that's-
the first time it says "be" in the sentence. It's just the only pattern that the only signal definition I see is
Well, it's not working
the
like it
last
says.
occurrence of the specified value.
Let me try another, let's see, how about the. It's going from the right, 20, oh, I think I see what it's doing. I see what it's doing.
What does
It's
it say?
finding the last occurrence, but measuring it from here.
Then what's so hard about it? I thought reverse meant that it was going from
9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. It's measured, it's finding
It's
the
each
last,
letter.
the last one from the right, but it's counting from the left. That make sense?
okay.
So our index finds the last occurrence, but counts from the left.
Oh, I didn't have that as the question. Is mine?
So it finds the last occurrence, but counts from the left.
Doesn't the R stand for reverse?
Yeah. Or right. All right, who needs help with this in-class exercise?
Do you want us to turn it into a list?
Let me look at it again. Create a loop. No. What you should do is print out something like this. Goodness gracious. So. Okay, so I want you to locate and display every word that starts with a T in that string, okay? So we already could see, we could kind of see what the answer is going to be. So I want you guys to spit out something like this. 2 and a space. What's the next one starts with a T? 2.
It's two that though.
2, that, the. Spit out that string right there. 2 space that space that. Okay, so you know you need to have a for loop, right? For something. And we already know how do we break this into a list containing one word per element.
Use substrings.
It's something else. So we're going to say for I in, what do we call that sentence? Sentence dot, how did we break it up, tokenize it? Remember, it starts with an S.
Split it.
Split. Right?
Could it be Hamlet dot split or is it sentence?
Or Hamlet, yeah. Or Hamlet or whatever you named your variable. Okay? So, I'm going off of this one. Excuse me. Right now. So this is sentence. Splitting it is going to create this list to be,
Here's the answer to my question, yes.
or each one is going to be an element in this list, right?
Bless you.
Zoom type. And then now we got this. So now we're going to get each word. And then how do we check if a word starts with a T?
The starts with function?
Yeah. So we could say something like if I dot starts with the letter T. This is an indent.
Not a 4.
Then we're going to print. How do we print something like this without a new line?
Do the end
Right.
stuff. Yeah, okay, I got it. This is the complete product.
So type in that and see if it works. I guess you guys could take a little break if you want. Did you get it? No? Karen, did you get it yet? Alright. Good.
Oh.
Got it? Good, okay, but print I, and then put an N equals space inside that print, and then they print all in one way. Okay, we're running.
I got 2, 2. Was there? Oh, I'm supposed to have that though.
Oh, dot starts with. That would have been dot. Yeah. Because that's, get rid of that space. Yeah. Got it? Good.
Oh, because I don't have the whole screen. If I wrote that as the question, that's really different.